For those of you who are numbers geeks, does anybody know how many days till Halloween? Quick math, 12, 20, 31, right? How about 43 days to Thanksgiving? Yeah, that's intended. When my wife and I were talking on a trip home, it was like, do you realize? And we started running these numbers off. 68 days to the beginning of Hanukkah, 74 days to Christmas, and 81 days to New Year's.
Wow.
How's that for 2022 blowing by? Chief, you and your department, we got a lot to do in the next 81 days. And we got a lot to look forward to in 2023, as I think we'll hear about today. Like the thought. Did you want to ask Rabbi Shook?
Yes. First of all, I'd like to say if we didn't charge admission, then we have some money here. So I'd like to start out this morning by introducing the Rabbi program that we're going to start in honor of Captain Willie James.
Thank you, Chief. This is Pastor Willie James, the man, the myth, and the legend. But more importantly, we are pleased and honored to announce a program in Pastor James' memory. The chaplaincy program in the St. Louis County Police Department is an all-volunteer program comprised of 3 department chaplains, 18 precinct chaplains, and 9 auxiliary chaplains. They are drawn from 9 different religious denominations. It's been just over a year since the passing of Pastor James. At the time of his death, Chaplain Willie James had been serving the St. Louis County Police Department for 20 years. The last 8 years of that chaplaincy had served as one of the 3 department chaplains. Reverend James was also a St. Louis County Police Department representative to a joint city-county program known as the Homicide Chaplains, a ministry to the families of homicide victims. That service, along with his status as a chaplain for the Metropolitan St. Louis Police Department, enabled him to be a bridge between the city and county chaplaincy programs. The fact that Reverend James was receiving regular kidney dialysis treatment while faithfully fulfilling his responsibilities as a department chaplain makes his dedication to the program all that much more remarkable. The respect for the county police chaplaincy program among department personnel and area citizens is due in no small way to the way in which Reverend James personified the concept of a ministry of presence. Beginning with late nights and early mornings at the staging area for the civil unrest we now know as Ferguson, and continuing through numerous barricaded subject call-outs, his was the quiet and compassionate presence that could lower the temperature of concern among anxious family and friends standing by for the resolution of a delicate and potentially dangerous situation. Therefore, the St. Louis County Police Department Chaplaincy Program, in recognition of his service and dedication to that program, hereby establishes the Willie James Memorial Training Program for police chaplains. The program will take place in the fall of each year. A note expert in a field directly related to the Ministry of Presence of police chaplains will be invited to be the featured instructor at the fall quarterly training for the St. Louis County Police Department Chaplaincy Program. These featured instructors will be selected from nominations offered by serving chaplains as well as the police command staff. It is my honor and privilege to announce this program and to let you know that Pastor James' wife and oldest son are here with us this morning, Dr. Dorothy King James and Dorothea King James, and his son Montel Harris. And we welcome them and appreciate their gift to this department, the gift of the service of Willie James. Thank you. Thank you.
We all knew Chaplain Willie James well. Remember the nights in Ferguson, where I was up there in the morning at 6 o'clock or there till midnight that night. You always saw Chaplain James there. Appreciate his service to us. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you. As a board, we will echo that. Rabbi Shook, quite the tribute to the legacy that your husband and your father left to all of us. So thank you very, very much. Deeply great. Deeply great. All right. Shall we move into some awards and some other celebratory items?
We got a few awards here. We'll start out with service citation. I'm gonna call your name. Lieutenant Shannon Ostendorf. Sergeant Kyle Embry. Sergeant Crystal Engel. Sergeant Dawn Stride. Police Officer Justin Bryant. Police Officer Robert Posey. Police Officer Michael Beck. Police Officer John O'Neill. The presentation, Captain Kelly, please.
Police Commissioners, Chief, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to help present this award to Lieutenant Ostendorf, Embry, Sergeant Engel, Sergeant Estrada, Officer Bryant, Officer Tozy, Officer Deck, and Officer O'Neill. They were assigned to the St. Louis County Police Department's Highway Safety Unit in 2021, and in July, they were at Lake of the Ozarks for a highway safety convention. While off duty and out to dinner at a restaurant across the street from their location, two outlaw motorcycle clubs got into an altercation where gunfire was exchanged without hesitation and without their safety equipment. These officers left the comfort of their restaurant, ran to the scene, were able to take suspects into custody, provide life-saving treatment to those wounded by the gunfire, preserve the crime scene until the Missouri State Highway Patrol could respond to conduct their investigation. Their courage and actions and quick thinking that day saved lives, and they are very worthy and exemplary of receiving one of our department's highest honors, the Meritorious Service Citation Award.
Dawn? Justin? Beck? Bennett, anybody here you want to recognize?
Actually, my husband, Bill.
Where's he at? He's hiding back there somewhere. Hey, Bill, welcome back. Still recruiting, we're hiring, feel free. Sorry?
No, sir, no one.
No one? Sorry? Right? Sorry? Stand up. All right? Go ahead.
Oh, my mom and dad and father.
Right there, stand up.
My beautiful wife, Michelle, and my father-in-law, Mike.
Stand up. Hey guys, thank you for the work that you've done. We've heard a lot about that story up there. Bravery that you guys displayed up there doing what you did. So I'm privileged for this department. Want to meet the commissioners?
We didn't do this in a very organized.
Thank you very much. And we just jumped right in, didn't we? Thank you. Well done.
Next up, Kevin Putnam, come forward, please. And Lieutenant Molden, would you come on with us, please?
I have the privilege to present this award to Kevin Putnam. He is a member of the professional staff for me in the Bureau of Central Police Records. On July 29th at approximately 8 p.m., he was off duty in the area of Chippewa and Jameson at the Ted Drew's Frozen Custard visit. While there, a 17-year-old male was trying to cross the road and was struck by two vehicles. The first vehicle fled the scene. Second vehicle stopped and assisted. Without hesitation, he immediately went to the trunk of his car, grabbed his first aid kit, and went to the aid of the 17-year-old that was struck. Unfortunately, the 17-year-old succumbed to injuries after being transported to the hospital. Your actions on that night of the 27th are representative of the values and commitment of the employees of the St. Louis County Police Department. Your selfless actions that night just demonstrate the professionalism and commitment of our agency to our community. While the outcome was not the one that we would have liked, your actions provided some comfort to the victim and the victim's families during this ultimate unfortunate situation. Your actions that night reflect highly not upon yourself, but also the St. Louis County Police Department. Congratulations.
Well, that whole row. The whole row stand up. Thank you.
On the board. I'm trying to. Yep, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Officer Matthew Shute and Police Officer Anthony Belfa and Sergeant Lyman. Come up, please. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Members of the board, ladies and gentlemen, on July 28th, just a couple months ago, we had a torrential downpour in the area. And a couple days before that, we had 12 inches of rain in a day. That particular day, we had 5 inches in less than an hour. We had a couple officers out in the area, View City, immediate west, St. Louis City area around our Metro Delmar station. And a couple calls went out for motorists stranded in high water. These went around with different officers in separate cars. And we had Sergeant Brian Bodeker was out assisting somebody. And they came out of town. They left the station and Hood Mountain Maple. Officer Shute observed a white vehicle floating in the water. And the occupancy was flagging him down, obviously in distress and needs some assistance. He exited the patrol car. It's a harder time. Officer Logan rated out where they were. And he dumped his duty gear, jumped in the water, swam out, got her out of the vehicle. And on his way back, that's when Officer Belfa pulled up. And he did the same as well and assisted Shute. They both brought her to safety and high ground and out of danger from the shark infested water. Did an excellent job, and I'm proud to work with you.
You just avert pictures. You don't want,
Thanks,
you
guys.
don't see someone.
They want me in the back.
Sure they do.
Great work, man. I'm very proud of you. Chief, can I tag on to the back of that one? One of the most impressive things that I'm not sure which one does, in addition to rescuing the woman out of the car, he was great enough to pick her purse up and was carrying her purse in addition to carrying her. And my wife made sure that I paid attention to that. So thank you very much.
Mr. Nathan Phillips. No. Mr. Stephen Reeves. Mr. Juwan Payton. Okay, so we'll just have to mail them their award. Commissioner, have some promotions next, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. First up, Mr. Lloyd McCowan. Lloyd works in the communications and he's being promoted to a CAD specialist. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Great. Got anybody here with you?
No, sir.
No? Well, great job. Thank you for working on meet the board.
Hey, great job.
Mr. Matthew Spezia. Matthew is also being promoted to a CAD specialist, new CAD system coming in. Guys, want to get that thing working properly?
We're gonna try our best.
There you go. Thank you. Any family here?
My wife Meredith.
Meredith, you stand up.
That's the plan, right?
Mr. Alexander Scott being promoted to Public Safety Dispatcher 2. And congratulations, sir. Anybody here with you?
My mother, my wife, and only 2 kids.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to you.
Mr. Jonathan Strasser. Jonathan is also being promoted to Public Dispatcher 2. Anybody here with you? No? All by your own?
Yep.
All right, excellent. This is Mandy Clinton. Mandy is also being promoted to Public Safety Dispatcher 2. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Anybody with you?
Yes, sir.
No? All right. I think we're on to back there. The next promotions are commission officers. Sergeant Dan Bradley. Dan is a 15-year veteran coming from the South County precinct. Dan, congratulations. Are you with me?
Just in kind of longer if that's something similar.
Oh, I see him back there. Could you stand up, please? Sergeant Matt Green. Matt is a 11-year veteran coming from tactical operations. You don't want to just put your arm around him. Right here with
Maybe it's wide.
Sergeant Tucker Schneer. Tucker's a 10-year veteran coming from tactical operations. Tucker, congratulations. Good.
Oh, my. It's been a big thing.
Both.
On both, right?
Congratulations.
Got Sergeant Brandon McQuarrie, 9-year veteran coming from community engagement.
Yeah, my beautiful wife Elizabeth,
Where's she at? Stand up, Elizabeth.
my mom, my dad.
Yes, man.
Lieutenant Devin Rhodes, 22. Lieutenant Rhodes coming from BPS. Great, thank you. Anybody here with you?
My BPS family.
Lucky you.
My wife Catherine, my son Alex.
Come on, stand up, guys. Edward McGee, 22. Service coming from police auxiliary, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Sure, sir. Warm around
I've got my parents and in-laws, my
Come on,
sister,
stand up, guys.
and most importantly, my wife Libby and my 2 daughters, Erin and Lauren.
Captain John Fansfield. Captain's got, what, 24 years? Park Rangers. Sir, congratulations. Military guy, he doesn't put arms around people. We have Captain Anthony Cavaletti.
I wasn't awkward at all.
You got it with you. Come on, stand up, guys. Commissioner, is it, sir?
Great. We're going to do some service awards too, if that's all right. Yes, sir. So when your name is called, if you would come on down, we would greatly appreciate it. And on behalf of the board and the department, we are so grateful for all the years of service you put in, not only for the department, but our community and all the citizens that you help us take care of. We're going to work from longest tenure down to the shortest. We'll do it in 5-year increments. And we will start out with the Division of Operational Support and Bureau of Security Services, Police Officer Cherie Reynolds, 30 years.
Don't look like you should be here for 30 years.
Great, thank you, Eric.
Like 5 when she started.
Sir, you got anybody here with you?
My son and you.
Where they at? Back there. I know the brother real well. He was my center when I was a quarterback in high school.
Wow.
And still- Thank you.
25 years. We have 4 at 25. And by the way, this must have been one heck of a month 25 years ago. We've got 4 of you who are all in July hires. So we will start out with Lieutenant Jeffrey Warner in the RIC unit.
Lieutenant, got any family, friends here?
Not today.
No friends?
No, I'm okay.
Second with 25 years is Police Officer William Munson from the North County Precinct.
Bill, you got anybody here with you?
Wow. Good answer.
Now, the next two started on the same day 25 years ago. That's quite the privilege too. So from the Division of Special Operations and Transit Police, Sergeant Daniel Lottman. Got a double day. You get to introduce him and you get your own award.
Wow.
And also,
Anybody here with you?
No, sir, I'm at work today.
You're working on?
also starting on July 21st, 25 years ago, from Division of Operational Support and Bureau of Security Services, Police Officer Scott Martin.
Anybody here with you? Wonderful, Captain.
Family in a different way, moving to 20 years from the Division of Criminal Investigation, Special Investigations Unit, Police Officer James Karras.
James, congratulations, sir.
Thank you, sir.
James, anybody here with you? No? Solo, all right, thank you a lot.
Moving to 15 years, someone else who's going to go home with a full car from the Division of Special Operations Highway Safety Unit, Police Officer Michael Deck.
I might will ask you again. Anybody?
My beautiful wife.
Still with you?
Stay with you. All right. Appreciate it.
Moving to 10 years on the Division of Patrol from the Central County Precinct, Police Officer Stephanie Edwards.
Stephanie, got anybody here with you?
Yes, sir. My wife, Detective Edwards, and my mom and
Stand,
other
please. Stand.
department families.
She said something that to all of you have said indirectly, department family. Pretty cool words. Very cool words. Also with 10 years from Division of Operational Support, Bureau of Communications, Mr. Alexander Scott. We're going to need a bigger card to take all your stuff home. Congratulations. Thank you.
Anybody here with you again?
Didn't leave, man. All right, thanks. And last with the 10 years from Tactical Ops Division of Special Operations, Police Officer Travis Brown.
Travis, got anybody here with you? Tack family in the back.
Camera in the back. And moving to 5 years from Division of Patrol, the Afton Southwest Precinct, Police Officer Jill Jones.
Got anybody? Oops, my bad. Got anybody here with you?
No.
No?
She was leading the basketball team.
There you go. From the Division of Special Ops, from the Highway Support Unit, or sorry, the Highway Safety Unit, Police Officer Justin Bryant. I get stuck.
Yeah. It's the chair.
Congratulations. And also from 5 years ago on the same July 24th hire date from the Bureau of Central Police Records, Division of Operational Support, Ms. Victoria Evans.
Anybody here with me? No? Okay.
If I think that's it.
That's it.
It's wonderful but that's an it.
Right.
Wonderful. I think next on our agenda then, we'll move right into your report. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Yes. For those of you who don't want to sit through the next 4.5 hours of our meeting, thank you. Some of you have to go back to work saving lives. Some of you are going to go back. Thank you all for being here to support.
Save your own life. Get out of here.
We'll take a break.
Save yourselves. Get out of here.
Yep.
My goodness. That's all. It's gotta be the best part of his job.
It's always the best part of the job. Love doing service award. Love doing it.
He's pretty witty on his feet too, isn't he?
Right?
Huh? Nimble.
What?
So when I started the slideshow,
Okay.
how do I just get that? Just wait for it up.
Yeah, like right.
There.
Tell them they can go after.
I mean, all of them, nobody's here.
Nobody knows.
Nobody
knows you personally.
And you know how to empty a room.
I just said so.
Then you know how to empty a room, then
Nobody.
save yourselves. Nope.
You usually have it.
I'm just messing with
Oh,
you.
thank you. You usually have it. It's like-
Take care. I was hiding it, but yes.
We're just waiting. We're waiting for it to show up on the TVs. We'll let them clear out.
We'll do that right now.
Kind of, they're trying to pop it up right now.
About a 30-minute report.
That's fine.
Some people report in 30 minutes. You want to hear about FBI.
You know what? Let's just do it. Let's take it.
Want to hear the whole report about FBI. Keep it under 30 minutes.
There we go. Close. We're trying.
Okay, for all 10 people who have asked.
All right. Shall we get restarted here? So Chief, next on the agenda is Lieutenant Colonel Cox coming up to give his 30-minute overview of what he did at the.
That's right.
Yeah, let's hear it. Keep it under 30 minutes.
And for those of you who are still around and were wondering what the chief was going to do in his next career, he is going to be a stand-up comic on Saturday Night Live.
All right. I wouldn't make a dime. First up, as far in the chief's report, we want to give you another update of the strategic plan. There is a file in your folder in reference to what we've done up to this point with our strategic plans. They're up that December of this year, our past 5-year report. What we did with this strategic plan is that we went out, research and analysis, and we reviewed some other strategic plans from agencies about our size. And it started out in May, And what we've done up to this point is we pretty much copied the strategic plan from LAPD. We saw that plan. It was pretty straightforward. It was direct. It told us just what we need to do, not a lot involved in it to where we can see some measurable results at the end of our plans. We developed 5 goals based on information from research and analysis. Along with those goals came initiatives within each goal. And within those initiatives, before long, you're going to see actions plans provided to those initiatives, ways that we're going to get those things done. Initiatives, again, that we can measure, okay? And that's what they're in the process of doing right now. And it's probably, I don't know, it's confusing kind of reading this myself. Don't know were you confused about it, but Deputy Chief Luckler is going to give you some illustrations to help talk about where we're at with this.
Okay, thanks, Chief. Last month's board meeting, you heard me talk quite a bit about methodology and process, about how we developed this strategic plan. So I'm going to keep this short and brief relative to that conversation because I've already cleared the room out. So what I want to show you is a little bit more specific information relative to that plan. So kind of where we are, if you remember last month when we had the conversation, we were in the process of collating data from the surveys. So we had the internal employee surveys and we had the external surveys. That's where we were last month. That's since been accomplished. The goals have been updated, the initiatives have been updated and pushed back out to the committees to work on. So that information is due on October 24th. When that comes back, then we'll start to develop the kind of the public-facing document that will be the end result of this whole process. In the interim, while we're working on that, I wanted to provide the board with an update. So what you see on the screen right now is the 5 goals that make up the strategic plan for our department moving forward. In the past, we've had 4 goals. They look somewhat similar to this. They're not exactly the same. But in essence, what we did is we took what is goal 4 and we made 2 goals out of that because we felt like goal 5, enriching training, was vitally important and should be a standalone item. So those are the 5 goals that you'll see in the document, probably middle to end of next month when you see the final product.
And that's when we'll be able to give our input and feedback on it?
Yes, sir. So what the timeline, which will be the last slide that I show you, right now we're in step 6 of 7 steps. So October 24th would be the end of that step 6. So if you look at your handout, the very last page is the strategic plan roadmap. That time period, step 7, is kind of when the working draft starts to come together. It'll be when you see the final product as a result of the process like I've described it. And then at that point, you'll be able to take a look at it and provide any feedback you want before the final product is delivered in January. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to show you what I'm going to show you today. So you had an opportunity to review the 5 goals. And I'm technology challenged, so how do I make it move, Dave? Perfect. Okay. So what I did is I took the first goal and I kind of broke it down to give you an idea of kind of what that looks like when we come to describe actually what we're trying to accomplish with the 5 goals. So each one of those 5 goals would have a statement like this. You're actually looking at a draft of the public-facing document right now. This isn't set in stone, but it's just what Marissa Williams pulled together to kind of describe what we're trying to do within each individual goal. So it's just an example of kind of the language that we use to build out what become the key activities and the individual action items within each goal. And it'll be a little bit easier for me to kind of explain that when I show you the next slide. So there you go. Okay, so what we did is we took the goals, we took the initiatives, and we took the key activities that are in this draft plan right now, and we built this document. And what you're looking at is who is responsible for each one of the key activities within each initiative. This just so happens to be the first initiative and the first goal of the plan, enhancing community trust. So across the top, you see some abbreviations. Those stand for Chief's Office, Patrol, Special Operations, DCI, Operational Support, and Human Resources. If there's an X in the box, it means it touches that division. So this is our worksheet. You kind of heard me talk a little bit about it last meeting, how we kind of track the progress of this plan, who's responsible for what. This is what we use for that. This is also what we used to send the key activities to the working committees to be able to develop the action items that will actually drive this plan. So if there's an X in the box right now, that division has this initiative, this key activity, and they're working on the action items that will drive that activity, and they're going to return those to us on October 24th. Did that make sense?
Yeah, so may I repeat back to you what I think you said?
Yes,
Okay. 5 goals.
right,
Each goal has several initiatives.
correct.
Each initiative has several activities that are assigned out to the different
That's right.
divisions. Got it.
Yeah, so if you track the slides, what you saw were the goals, then you saw kind of the initiative, and now you see the key activities within that first initiative. So I wrote the numbers down. There's roughly 5 to 7 initiatives within each goal, and each one of those initiatives that builds out to roughly somewhere between 20 and 30 key activities within each one. So there'll be action items for each of those. We didn't want it to get too big and unmanageable. That's fairly big. So that's where we are in the working draft right now. It'll change between now and the end of the year, but.
So when you said 20 to 30, that's under each goal collectively?
So you have the goals, then you have the initiatives, and each initiative then there's anywhere from 5 to 7 initiatives within each goal, has key activities underneath that. So
20 key activities.
So the total combined for that goal would be about
it.
20. Yeah, 20 to 30, depending on which goal you're talking about. Okay.
Thank you.
Did I lose anybody? Because I've lived this for about 6 months, so I understand what I'm saying, but it doesn't translate well sometimes. Okay, go ahead and move to the next slide.
Wait, before you do, sir, if you're ready to move then on. So thank you for the guidance. We heard several key words in there from our perspective, which is responsibility, accountability. We've used measures in previous meetings. We see it in here too. Those are very nice things to see in this, but pulling it up one level to the goals. So some of the goals seem to align to a structure of our police department. Does someone own goal 1 and someone own goal 2, or is it they own at the activity level of delivering on the activity?
Well, yes, I think if you split the baby, so to speak, they probably own in the initiative level more than anything else. Because as you saw in this document right here, just within the first initiative, there could be multiple divisions responsible
Right.
for achieving that goal. So if you're asking me who ultimately is responsible for determining whether we meet that initiative, it would be somebody higher than a division head if it touches more than one. So more than likely myself.
All right, thank you for that. So what I was really trying to get at is how do we make sure the initiatives don't just work vertically, they work horizontally across the department? Who
Right.
lassos brings that?
Lieutenant Shellman and his group. Yep, they monitor that. That's how they decided the work. Responsibility is how we assigned out to the committees, and we'll monitor that as we move forward and we implement. I think I'm answering your
So
question.
that's the measurement side of it. Shellman's group.
It's more than just measurement. It's
Okay.
more than just measurement because they don't just get the end product back to measure the success. And it's hard to put into words, but it worked that way with the Teneo report and trying to report back on progress on that. So I'm confident that it's going to work. I may not be doing a great job of explaining how.
No,
but-
you are. I just want to make sure that the left hand and the right hand in the police department are working together on.
And ultimately, that's mine and the chief's responsibility to make sure that happens too.
Very
So.
good. Thank you.
Okay. So if there's no more questions about that side of it, the last thing that I'll show you, if you can move to the last slide, whoever's controlling this, is the timeline, which I've kind of hinted to this point where we are. We're in step 6 right now. That will come to a close on October 24th when we get the returns from the committees. And then we will start drafting the document that you will see the first part of November as we move into step 7. So we're on time. We're on schedule. There's a couple of people that I need to thank for that. Largely the staff in research and analysis, Faith Kistler, Jacqueline Lamb have been instrumental, but more importantly, kind of the one person who's kind of held this whole thing together and made it move on time is Marissa Williams. And if I didn't give her credit for that right now, she's been great. And, you know, she just is one step ahead of me all the time. I couldn't do it without her. So.
Well, please pass our appreciation on to the entire unit.
I will.
Lieutenant Shellman, please do, and especially to Marissa.
Answer any other questions about the strategic plan?
I don't have a question, just a comment that I think I reflect the entire board in saying that the approach to this is something I don't think we've seen before, but it's very exciting and energizing. And I'm happy that I know there's been a lot of man hours that have gone into the process, but I think it will be worth it.
I do too. thank you for that. I'll pass that on. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I will say that our approach to this is unlike we've ever done this before. It's always come from the top down with the way we set up strategic plans. We knew there would be some headaches with putting this together, but so far, not as many as we thought. And there probably want to be some questions after we finalize this thing about things that we may need to change, but it's different from us. And again, research and analysis have done a great job. Budget, Terry?
Gave all my information before I got here, just in case. Okay, on the budget, the current budget, we have a surplus of 5.9 million in salaries. But the big shortages, so it'll cover the big shortages anyway. And overtime, we're projecting 3 million short. And in retirement payouts, I'm projecting about 1.6. We're already short 1.3, and we're just thinking we're going to have another 300,000, just based on people turning in their papers and that. So that's really on the budget this year. Excuse me. And then on the 2023 budget process, we have a meeting with council October 27th. And so we should be able to give you a lot more on that the next meeting. So we really don't know anything. So that's really it. Any questions? You can try.
No, please. All right. The first one is, so I think what we heard was forecasted for year end is $1.5 million surplus. Is that how we heard that?
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Wait,
Oh.
please.
I thought I was lucky.
I just went first.
Based on the prep meetings for the October 27th council meeting, do we have any insight into areas of concern, areas of confidence with respect to our budget? Any expected pushback?
Yeah, nothing so far. They don't even send us anything as far as any changes. So I don't think we'll know to there unless the chief knows of something else.
The only area of concern that I would have at this point is that, we're up for our camera contract to be renewed, and talking with Sergeant Naughton in reference to get a 5-year lock-in on a price that's probably going to go up if we do it year by year. There may come a point where I might have to get another request for additional funds based on what we've already put into our 2023 budget. It's not there right now. But if they give it to us, we can lock in our camera contract at a certain price for the next 5 years, and along with getting some more materials and things and service from utility if they go with it. Looking at about, I think it was about $228,000 in addition to what we've already asked for.
Annually. 200.
No, just one time.
One time, too.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like a very nice trade-off.
It is. And we'll get a lot of materials from that. If we lock in with utility at that time, there's a lot of things that we'll get that's like bonuses for us. But they got to go along with that 228 because we have to get it done by a certain time.
Setting aside the pricing, are we confident in the technology that we want to be locked in to these cameras for 5 years?
And all of that'll come with utility. Once we sign that contract with utility, they'll provide us with more cameras. They'll provide us with even the vest that that our officers will have to use. They'll provide the pocket for the camera. That'll all come as bonuses along with LPRs, so forth, and things like that, if we lock this in. So the technology will be taken care of.
And weigh in for just a moment. There was a radio article today on the way in from the county council indicating that the county budget at this point was about $40 million overspent. In fact, they were looking unfavorable. So obviously everybody will have to keep, if those numbers are correct, right? It was preliminary. We'll have to see, but we'll see how that impacts our needs also.
Thanks, Terry.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, Terry.
Just an update on the Arfa funding. I spoke with County Executive Page on Monday, and he gave me his thoughts about Arfa money, and he put it like this: it's moving this month. That's the word that he used, that it's moving this month. I know for a fact that the state matching fund is ready to move. I talked with Sandy Carson with that probably about 3 weeks ago, that they're ready to move with their matching fund. And this 23 million is the 23 million that we're looking to get from Arfa, which is all done, for the police department. And so they're ready to move. According to Dr. Page, the Arfa money is ready to move from across. It's moving across the street to match that 23 million from the state. All for the same projects that we're looking to do, the property control, fusion center, second precinct is written in there somehow. We'll try to get that done, and improvements at the range. So that's where we are with the Arfa money. Lieutenant Shellman.
Thank you, Chief. And good morning, members of the board. For Teneo, there's not, if you look, I don't know if you have your pie chart, but nothing was actually completed last month. But obviously that doesn't mean that nothing is moving. Probably just according to what the divisions had turned in for the month of September, about 8 different things that have moved percentage-wise, maybe from what the division heads call 50% to about 75, 80%. So things are getting close. I know just as far as like search and seizure policy I talked to you guys about last month. And it's good that we have the process that we have because the process works. I told you that we were like 90% and then it actually backed up to like 55 because some concerns were brought up, sent it back to the county counselor, and we've got those things hashed out. So now it's moving forward again. But some of those things, when we talk about timelines, we want to get them right. And but there are things still moving, but nothing completed in the past month. Any questions on Teneo? All right. We'll move forward to the crime statistics. Should be popping up here in a second.
There you go.
Small screen so far away.
Yeah.
Play for older eyes.
All right. I can control. All right. Flying through. All right, here we go. So for the notable events tab, our citizen complaints back in March were down 70%, and we kind of wondered what was going on. And, unfortunately, we always know it's going to regress to the mean at some point, and it has now. So we're right where we were as of last year. So 2022 to 2021 is no different. Our internal investigations continue to stay down. Uses of force right around that mark, as you can see from last year. Department vehicle accidents, we had, unfortunately, our highest month, 25 vehicles in September. That pushed us into the positive. And then our vehicle pursuits continue to remain up, although we only had a total of 5 in the month of September. Failure to yields. We knew that July and August, as most months are with everything crime-wise, everything goes up. September, it came down a little bit. We're still over 200. There was 209 in the month of September, which pushed us to 1748. And then as we look at, here we go, our heat map, and you can see the precinct count. Again, of the 209, there was exactly 106 of those that were in the 1st and 8th precincts combined. Highway safety in the 3rd precinct actually had the next highest totals with 29 apiece. For our patrol data, calls comparatively, September from August, we saw 575 less radio calls in the Division of Patrol in September. The good thing is, obviously, self-initiated went up. The precincts wrote 12 more DWIs. They had 100 more traffic tickets issued and seized 6 more firearms. As we go into our crimes against persons, homicides continue to be down 20.7%, 58 from 2021 as compared to 46 this year. Nothing else really jumps off the page as switching abundantly over the past month, even like a simple assaults, which are obviously the highest number on the page. We had 193 in September and 206 in August, so the number wasn't that much different. Our homicide infographics that we always show, I know that this is a lot smaller on these TVs for you all, but again, breaks down that 58 and 46 and then breaks down the 4 that we had in the month of September 2022 as compared to the 6 in the month of September from 21.
Thank you. Now have it in front of us.
We have it in front of us now.
Very nice. Would you like me to go back?
No.
Okay. All right, crimes against property. Again, nothing major other than stolen vehicles, which we have talked about quite a bit. So I ran the average number of auto thefts that we had as a police department, January through August, which was 167 per month. And in the month of September, we had 402. So obviously, it's not getting any better. Each month over the past 5 months has continued to see those numbers rise. I'm going to take you to the next slide, which shows the Hyundais and Kias, which obviously have been a huge topic, not only amongst the police department, but nationally in the media. Of our 826 total stolen vehicles between January and September, 999 of those were either Hyundais or Kias, so over 50%.
They yet have a solution. You hear, in some cases you hear they do, in other cases you hear they don't do.
Well, from a department standpoint, obviously just more special enforcement type of things and trying to get the officers out, because we look at the times that these occur, the majority of them are between usually 1 a.m. and 4 a.m., 5 a.m.-ish. So doing more type of special enforcement things, getting more saturated type patrols. And I know that, I can't really speak to it, but I know that the club that they put on cars are being distributed. I don't know how many our department got. Somebody's probably better to answer that than me. About 500. And I know that, like speaking with Captain Schneider in the fourth precinct, they got so many and they were giving them to specifically Hyundai and Kia owners. So from a department standpoint, that's what we're doing. As far as the manufacturer, I've heard that they're not doing a whole lot.
So
Yep.
similar to the failure to yield heat maps, have you run heat maps on
Yes.
auto thefts?
Yes, and in fact, most of the captains of each precinct have requested those, and the analysts have done those. I apologize, that's something that I probably should have put into this, but I promise you have it for next month. And hopefully, we're not at 402, but yeah, we'll have heat maps for you for all stolen autos plus the Kias and Hyundais. Crimes against society, again, nothing major to note other than as a department, I think it's great to show that the DWI's enforcement is way up. Obviously, a lot of that comes from our highway safety folks, but 368 through September as compared to 291 from last year. Nothing else, no major changes on any of the other categories month to month. Calls for service. We always look at that moving average over a 5-month period, and not shockingly, September saw that we were, every precinct was below their moving average for the month of September, whereas they were above July and August. But again, that's every year we see the same. Self-initiated, North County remains low only for the fact that over 50% of radio calls in the entire department go to them. So they're just spending more time, as we talk about all the time, answering the radio and responding to directed calls for service rather than self-initiated.
So that explains why the flip-flop, because North County has 950 self-initiated, but 4,100 directed.
That's right.
And the inverse, West County, is just the opposite.
That's correct. Yep. Whereas the West County guys would have a lot more time to do those self-initiated things, especially, and you're talking about the 2 precincts for at least the last, 3 months of the year, 3.5 months of the year that are still on the 12-hour shifts before the whole department transitions.
Mm-hmm.
But a guy riding in the 7th precinct on a 12 obviously is facing something completely different than in the 1st precinct where it's just continuous radio calls.
So more than 50% of the calls are North County.
That's correct. Yep. And then, again, top calls never change. Sick cases are always going to lead the way. And our TSR data, again, nothing, I study these a lot because I'm a member of the TSR committee. We'll be meeting later this month to discuss the 3rd quarter, but nothing jumping off the page. The TSR committee will look into each individual officer as well and see if there's anything of note. But as far as this meeting,
well, it's interesting that in North County, 84% of the population is minority, but only 38% of the stops were.
yeah, and that is an outlier as far, normally it is right around that
Sure.
percent minority. Sometimes you'll be a little higher. I think 2 months ago I looked, it was 89%.
Mm-hmm.
So no rhyme or reason other than obviously the fact that those guys are going to make a lot less stops too, just because of that self-initiated is not there.
Gotcha.
Anybody have any questions about any of the crime statistics? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One of the things I like to mention in reference to our crime stats is that first slide where we talked about citizen complaints. And our department should take pride in the fact that with all the citizen contacts that we've made up to this point, we've had like 22 citizen complaints. When you look at the fact, the traffic stops that they make out there directed calls that they have to deal with, detectives, the people that they have to deal with, communications with all the calls that they get, all the people that go through court security that Captain Morgan's people have to deal with. Those are all citizens that we come in contact with. And you would think that, with all those different contacts, we might upset a few people for whatever reason, whether it's true or not. But when you just look at 22 complaints for that period of time, I think that's outstanding. So, Mr. Becker, you're up, sir.
Thank you, Chief. Good morning. I've been asked to be brief because of the long meeting. I'll do my best. The traditional staffing report, I'm pleased that we're one less vacancy. We're at 84 vacancies for commissioned officers. We have 5 graduating tomorrow night at Merritt's at 7 o'clock. And class 206 will graduate 7 county officers on December 15th. And we're working on class 207. We have 4 right now. We expect 15 in that class for county officers. I'll talk about that more in just a bit. Of note with respect to departures, in 2021, we had 45 retirements. This year to date, we've had only 20. And that was to be expected, mostly because of Prop P. Officers wanted to build those final 3 years at a higher salary and then retire with better benefits. So it's expected that the retirements would be much less than last year, which is a good thing, obviously. The total hires year to date are 77. It's 22 commissioned officers and 55 professional staff. And with respect to the experienced hiring year to date, we have hired 9, and we have 5 city officers and 4 from other agencies that we've hired. And with respect to the next 6 weeks or so and hiring, we have 26 interviews scheduled, and beginning with 6 tomorrow, and the breakdown of that is 7 security officers, 11 for the January class, and then we have 8 experienced officers who are interviewing, and that's 3 from municipal agencies, and 5 from the St. Louis City Police Department.
Sir, the 9 that you gave us that we've hired already, are those 9 since lateral pay went into place, or are those 9? for
No,
the
it's actually about half. And some were earlier in the year, some were applications more in June. I think by June, there was the scuttlebutt of the lateral pay. I know had been working on it for quite a while. Officers had heard about that. So it's about half and half of the 9.
So that was the attraction side, the retention side. So we had 2 primary reasons to do that, right? Retain who we had, and then certainly attract. We've spent a lot of time talking about the attraction piece. I think you mentioned retention is improving slightly, at least for the month. Is that how we interpreted that?
Yes, that's correct.
All right.
And also to note that 117 existing officers did receive the lateral pay recognition. That goes to retention, obviously. Let's see if we can get this to work. All right, in your packet, the first document is the pie chart. The pie chart with the police NBQs and voluntary withdrawals. We've been through this before. I know there's a lot to absorb. I just want to point out 2 things for the sake of brevity. First of all, the chief and I are meeting every Friday and going through the week's NBQs and talking about them and so forth. And then with respect to voluntary withdrawals, this is on the commission. It's true for professional staff also, but the recruiters are normally the ones who initiate and discover, if you will, the voluntary withdrawals. So an applicant might be not moving through the process because they set their own testing. It's for their convenience. They go to the website, they can set their written test, they can set their PT test. If they failed one of the tests, they get 2 other chances. A lot of times on PT, they want to give themselves a little time and distance to work out and be more physically fit and so forth. So the recruiters are actively contacting these folks. And typically what happens with the applications that are dragging out and we're not hearing from the applicant because they're not signing up, they're not engaging the recruiter. The recruiters are very persistent, urging the people to sign up for the testing. And ultimately it ends in, hey, thank you, I have another job, or thank you, I'm no longer interested in being a police officer. So the recruiters are making a very concerted effort to push these applicants through.
Do we understand why they are withdrawing? Is there a primary reason or 2?
Primary reason would be I found another job. Secondary reason, I'm no longer interested in law enforcement.
So I can break those down one more. I found another job because this process has taken too long. I found another job because I found someplace to pay me more.
No,
I found another job because
it's not because the process is taking too long, because they're not engaging and signing up for the testing. So they're the reason for the delay, if you will, or the length of the application process, because they're not pushing themselves through, in spite of the recruiters contacting them and urging them to sign up for the testing.
I understand what you said, but I can also, if I'm being hired in July for a December start date, as an example, that's a long time, right? So in the meantime, I'm going to be looking for employment that I might find immediately, and therefore I don't engage in the follow-up process because it is such a delayed start. That's what I'm trying to figure out, which is what's the real root cause of why I'm voluntarily resigning.
Well, we have a remedy for that also. We have hired 3 recruits for the January class, and they need jobs. So we've put them to work as precinct aides. And so they can have employment, get to learn the department, they can start off in January. So that's one of the remedies that the chief has approved to try and hang on to these folks, because there is a lot of time and distance. Same with dispatch. We have an October 31 academy, and then we're not going to have another one until February, I believe. So we're in kind of the same situation with that. Does that answer your question?
Partially.
Okay. Any other questions on the NBQs, whether it's professional staff or police? And then I know this is kind of small on the screen. The exit interviews, which are also in your packet, I just want to point out a few things for the sake of brevity. So this is based on 30 surveys. The new employers indicated on those choosing to indicate that 12 are going to the private sector and getting out of law enforcement. And 17 of them indicated that there's an increase in pay. And two other things of note, on the pie charts, on the lower left one, did you speak with your supervisor or anyone else in management before making your decision to leave the department? 60% have said yes. I would think that number will go up in the future because what we've done when supervisors have learned that someone may be leaving or talking about leaving, they take immediate action and engage the employee. We've had some success with talking folks out of leaving. The batting average is relatively low because I think some folks have their minds made up already if they put their application into another agency. But we are making a concerted effort to hang on to people and engage them. And the supervisors are doing a good job on that.
Carl, is there, if you'll scroll up, please, on the
To
on the survey. Yeah, there on the right. How did the department rate on the 1 to 4 scale? When you look at the numbers, morale is the lowest number. Do we have any breakout of information on what it is about morale that is causing the lower rating?
There would be some data in the exit interview that is not captured here that may indicate, how can the department improve, those sort of things. It's just not captured on this summary.
Are we
So
having,
to answer your question, it would be a garden variety of issues with respect to that.
are we having the conversations with them yet, or is it still a technical exit interview?
It's all conversation. It's all an interview where you sit down and build a rapport, just like any good interview, build a rapport with the subject and then get as much information, as much frankness as possible.
I think we'd like to see the garden variety. We'd like to see here, maybe by end of year, what that garden variety of morale issues looks like.
And the last thing I wanted to point out is would you recommend working for the St. Louis County Police Department to others? It's 93%, which is very encouraging in spite of what may be perceived as a mediocre morale number. The referral rate or the support of the department is extraordinarily high.
On this sheet is on the top right, the top 3 reasons for leaving. Are those in a particular order? Like, is number 1 the one that is most cited?
That's correct, yes. And then change in career, obviously, with 12 going to the private sector, that would be higher. Would be a top reason also.
So interesting, because to Commissioner Schweren's question, that's one of the things we tout is what makes us a superior place to come to. We have all these different specialized units and smaller municipalities and or people coming from the military have a chance for career advancement and different opportunity. That's
And as we've discussed, it's hard to compete with the take-home car program of some of the outlying counties. That's one of our biggest challenges. And there's a
but
population.
that's not a career advancement.
No, but it's working conditions. It's compensation, frankly, also because you don't have to pay for the gas.
Which isn't one of the top 3 reasons they're leaving. Change your career.
We have had a few come back from those agencies, so that's encouraging too. Because of that reason that we do have many opportunities here.
I wonder if we can view that as an invitation or an opportunity for education within the department. If one of our top 3 reasons for leaving is career advancement opportunities, maybe we as a department aren't doing enough to educate our officers and professional staff who are leaving on all of the opportunities they have here.
Well, and that's a good point. That was something I was going to mention just a little bit later. The recruiters are going to roll calls and talking about selection process, recruiting, how to be a good recruiter. Because as you know, we give $800 for any employee who refers an inexperienced, whatever position it is, not just commission, and $1,000 for an experienced employee. And there were 32 of those this year so far. So that's a program that I think is effective. It entices our current employees and it engages them in the process. And I think the recruiters are doing a good job explaining their role and shedding a lot of light on that. So they're already doing that, and it's a very good point. Okay, sure. So as you may know, we have 35 trained so far in the mentor program, trained through a generous donation from the Police Foundation, which we appreciate. We're going to train 25 more. So beginning Monday we hired at orientation, we're 2 security officers, a recruit, and an experienced officer. They'll all be assigned mentors. And then we have the professional staff also. Those employees, new employees, will receive a mentor then also. And
Sorry to interrupt. Am I understanding correctly? On Monday, like the mentorship program is officially doing its first.
it's already begun. They haven't been assigned yet, but yes, it has begun. So the folks that are trained want to be able to assign the leaders of it, Lieutenant Roach, Director Ryan, and then also Officer House, who's a recruiter, are going to carefully assign to match up a mentor to a mentee to match up with their particular needs and make a good personal match for that. And hopefully that will be a career-long relationship. It will only last through probation and then for professional staff and through the end of the academy for commissioned officers. But hopefully that'll be a relationship that they'll value throughout the rest of their career. Any other questions on the exit interview? All right, and then on current recruiting, I'll just touch on a few things. I mentioned the attendance at the roll calls. And this month and next month, the recruiters are going to or have been at the area community colleges, Rankin Tech. They're going to Fort Wood here shortly. They're bringing some officers who are veterans to go and to talk to the various soldiers there and talk about their exit from the military and a future with us. Officer Shelton, along with Officer Minor, have developed what we call a pre-fitness program. So about anywhere from 4 to 8 people will show up on a Wednesday evening at the academy, and Officer Shelton and Officer Minor work with them to try to build up their physical fitness so they can qualify to pass our physical fitness test. I think I've indicated this before, but the recruiters are targeting criminal justice clubs at various universities. So that includes Lindenwood, SIU Edwardsville, Lewis and Clark Community College, Greenville University up in Illinois, and some other area universities. And then, as I mentioned, the referral program, we've paid referrals to 32 employees who have essentially recruited employees. I always maintain that everyone's a recruiter, and I think people are embracing that idea. And that's all I have. If you have any questions.
It's an update on lateral pay, the retention and the attraction piece, the mentoring. I just want to make sure I heard your answer to Commissioner Schwerin. We haven't implemented yet. We will be implementing as of Monday, officially assigning mentors.
On the mentor, yes. On the employees that were going through orientation on Monday, and then some other professional staff from about a week ago. So we'll have about 14 mentors assigned probably by the end of next week.
Okay. Thank you.
and then it'll be ongoing.
It's probably a question for you more so than Director Becker, the 12-hour shift, or maybe Colonel Cox, where are we on that? And communication plans, awareness, selection, just at a very high level, where are we on the 12-hour shift implementation? Thank you, Carl. Welcome.
Still work here. Good morning.
Bad work.
Welcome back.
Thank you, sir. We've been going around the roll calls, explaining what it looks like, the need for the 12-hour shifts. So we're hitting all the precincts that didn't participate with the pilot. Also, I'm going to do a video with Vera on Friday for the people who couldn't make the roll calls to explain the need and the structure of the 12-hour shift. We're receiving some very good questions with officers having some concerns. It's culture changing. They're used to working 10-hour shifts. However, I think Sergeant Conradi and Lieutenant Sheltman have done a very good job of using a relief factor that may work where we have sufficient amount of officers to man our beats, because that's our number one priority. Be able to receive a call, respond to a call, and handle a call. It's the most fundamental thing in our profession. So I think we'll be ready to go. We're on target.
Recruiting opportunity for us, 12-hour shifts, the number of days I worked, is that something we can talk offline? Carl, but- All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We're still looking at a implementation date, sir, of December, Christmas.
Ouch.
I'm sure they'll all be thrilled about getting that Christmas gift for our shift. The mentorship program, I would like to think that that's going to help us with keeping people here, because during that time they can learn from their mentors the advantages of being patient and wait for that opportunity, as opposed to just getting frustrated because they're not being supported by anybody without leading them on. And patience is a big thing around this department. You have to have patience in going through the process. We have a very extensive, detailed process about hiring our police officers. Advancement, advancement is there. I mean, I've said this a number of times before, if you want a career in law enforcement, I mean, it's right here. Everything that you want is right here. You have to be patient. You have to be patient. And sometimes we got this generation, they want it right now. And if you don't give it to them right now, then they go somewhere else where they think they can get it right then. And for that reason, we all have some of them coming back. I look at the fact that in the time that I've been in my position since July 21, advancement, I think I've made something like about 35 needed promotions. That's advancement, but you have to be patient for it. And there are some guys that sat on that list for quite some time, but eventually they got it. And if we don't have that patience, if they don't display that patience, then again, they leave. So my 2 cents. Update on the new precinct building. I'm sorry. Bureau Communications overview. Veronica, I see you here and I see.
Veronica, can I ask a favor? Can I take a 2-minute break here? Just,
Okay,
yeah,
we'll
forgive
take a
me.
break.
And for anyone else too. All right.
And I'm sorry.
And the lights are on.
Maybe it's the light. 'Cause I'm a little too low.
Oh.
Now, I get. Almost. Oh, my goodness. It was the night that we were trying to see my. All snuggled up under the cover, and I started off something. So I keep it on my nightstand.
Oh, good on. Matthew's been very restless. Like getting up, turning over, and finally excited. Not dealing with things. It's true. So And he doesn't like that. He likes. You start sleeping through the night again. Yes.
He already has.
You already have to.
Yeah, they're right there. Already.
Already.
Yeah, no, I know, but what happened? I need to, and he's been doing that this whole life. But he doesn't go to bed until. Now, admittedly, he falls asleep. And no matter where he is, can be at the video. You know, we have the bar stool time, you know, that height, but you can fall asleep. He can fall asleep anywhere. And he'll sleep for about hours, maybe an hour and a half. Or there's a chair. Still, I actually just saw in that chair, and then he'll wake up. I don't know what time he wakes up, but he gets in bed around 10. Most of the time, I have to cook, but I always want to sleep before he gets in the bed. And I generally am. If he doesn't talk to his out of CPAP, so he doesn't talk sometimes a whole lot. But sometimes I have to wake up and say, put it in my face.
Yeah.
So funny.
Veronica, you're up, miss.
Thank you, Chief. Good morning, Board. Thank you for inviting me to provide an overview of the Bureau of Communications. On March 27th of 2010, the Bureau of Communications was accredited by the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement, known as CALIA. This accreditation led to the department receiving the Triarch Award. Since then, there have been 4 cycles of accreditation, and our last accreditation was with excellence. The St. Louis County Police Bureau of Communications is organized under the Division of Operational Support and operates on a full-time basis, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It provides for a service population of 527,346 citizens and is responsible for the operation of a central telephone service desk and radio communication system with over 550 talk groups for the department, authorized agency, and 39 municipalities contracting for 911 services and communication services. The Bureau processes, answers, and evaluates incoming calls to determine the level of service needed, dispatches police officers, and provides other services for the appropriate responses. It has the capacity to staff 21 call takers and up to 17 authorized radio frequencies. Daily operations include monitoring and dispatching 7 radio frequencies and several other auxiliary frequencies essential for the daily operations of the Bureau. In January of 2018, the Public Safety Dispatch Training Academy was established to streamline the training process. To date, the Academy has trained 124 public safety dispatchers who have successfully graduated. As it is currently a national crisis in staffing communication centers, the Bureau continues to recruit and hire to decrease the current vacancies. The next Academy class will be October the 31st, and in 2023, we plan to have 4 additional academies. The Bureau's current staffing shortage has required us to work mandatory overtime since 2015 intermittently. The longest period being the period that we are in now has been 2 years that our Bureau has been on mandatory overtime. The Bureau's strength is authorized 93 employees and is currently staffed with 85 with 8 vacancies as we stand. Operationally, the employees now, there are 12 that are in initial training, which are unable to function independently, and 10 that are currently trained in only 1 discipline. During the third quarter of 2022, there were 194,963 incoming calls answered with an average answer time of 9.6 seconds, which is an increase of 1.2 seconds as compared to the second quarter. The continuous increase in the call time can be attributed to the number of employees that are training and the fact that 50.7% of the Bureau has less than 3 years of experience. During the same quarter, we entered 221,135 calls for service and processed the emergency responses in 85 seconds. The total incoming call volume increased 14,000 calls, and the calls for service increased by approximately 9,000 calls as compared to the second quarter. This increase in call volume can be attributed to the summer hours and the 2 additional dispatch contracts that we took over this year. The Bureau of Communications is dedicated to providing the best professional service and responses for the citizens and the officers within St. Louis County, as it is dedicated and guided by the Bureau mission of being committed to prompt, efficient, accurate service for first responders and the community. Thank you.
Questions?
I have a few questions. Do we know the primary cause for turnover, why people are leaving?
A lot of people don't want to work weekends. They don't want to work the overtime, and they don't want to work the holidays. It varies. We kind of try to gauge why people are leaving, and there is no one point of failure as to why or what we are doing as to why they are leaving. It's a big array of reasons that they are leaving.
Would some of it be burnout with the hours, the mandatory overtime?
We have seen that, yes.
What is the mandatory overtime?
So we work a 12 and 8-hour schedule, which is a 40-hour week schedule. So on the 8-hour day, you work an additional 4 hours so that we don't have to work on your rec days unless you want to volunteer to do so. So it's 8 hours a week that they work overtime.
Okay, it's 48 hours total in the
Yes.
week. Thank you.
Do you have a sense of if there is any kind of support or benefit that we could provide to encourage individuals to stay longer?
Well, we've tried several things. We've looked at our schedules to try to change, and we've also asked for volunteers to see if we can come up with a different schedule, because the schedule that we work now was built by 2 dispatchers several years ago. The biggest thing is that the overtime I see is what's really driving people to leave.
That's a direct attribution to understaffing.
Yes.
It's almost like a chicken and an egg, right? People leave because they don't want to work overtime, and because people leave, there's overtime.
Yes.
This question is going to demonstrate my ignorance, so I'm apologizing in advance. Would it be appropriate to offer variable pay scales for different times of the week or different times of the day?
Well, they do receive the 6% for working midnights.
Okay.
So they do, it's in their CBA, so they do receive that.
What about weekends?
No, there is no additional pay unless you're on midnights.
Got it.
One last question from me. So put this in context. Your group takes about 800,000 calls a year.
Yes.
Wow. Kudos. Thank you for your leadership, and thank you for all of their work.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Hold on, let me forget.
Yep. While you're thinking,
Yes.
ask one more
Yes,
question.
please.
How personalized is the dispatch curriculum to our specific center?
It's 100% guideline for our center.
Okay, so somebody coming in who would go to a different center, it's not applicable?
No,
Okay.
not at this time. If we expand our CAD out and it becomes a universal CAD, then we could look at the possibility of training other PSAPs in the dispatch, because 90% of the academy, the training academy, is based on the CAD.
I remember now.
Okay.
So, what are the salary ranges?
So it starts at 46.5, I believe, and it goes up from there. So we are not the same as the professional staff. We have a first responder category is one step above the professional staff salary.
So is that competitive with other?
It is better.
It's better.
Yes, it is better. There are still agencies out there that make a lot more than we do. And what we find sometimes is that we train them and then they go to other agencies. But I think right now we're in a good spot. But the other agencies are looking to increase their salary and pretty soon we'll be right back where we were.
So are we looking to increase ours?
Absolutely. We're always looking to increase our salary.
Like the bargaining agreement.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Appreciate it. Reference to salary, and it'll answer all those questions you guys just had about retention, about burnout, overtime, all that stuff. We thought we had that worked out when we tried to get our dispatchers who handle 800,000 calls a year, the busiest answering service in the county, communication service in the county, and there are other people, dispatchers, smaller municipalities making more than they are. We thought we had that worked out, and it didn't work out. I think that would help us in respects to retaining people for our communication center. All those questions you asked has to do with salary. That's why they're leaving.
Yeah.
That's why they're leaving. So I think Baron were very courteous about saying that we were matching, but there's some others that are doing a lot better than we are.
Thank
you. I think next is the update on the 3rd and 1st precinct. Actually, the groundbreaking for the 3rd precinct is on October the 19th. I think it's at 8:30 that morning. I think the Dr. Page is sending out invitations now in reference to the groundbreaking. I got the word yesterday that the groundbreaking is tentatively planned for the 1st precinct on October the 27th. That's up in North County next to the Christian Northeast Hospital. So that's the update after a long period of time waiting for this to happen. So
Nice.
Next up, I'm going to call Captain Wall up. He's going to discuss the Executive Leadership Council, to let everybody know what that's about and give an update as to what they've done up to this point. Captain?
Good morning, Board.
Good morning.
Thanks for allowing me to talk today. The Executive Leadership Council is a group of 2 directors, which is Michelle Ryan and Lisa Campbell, and then Captain Cunningham, Captain Norman, and myself. And our goal of this group is to basically just brainstorm on some ideas and present them up the chain and to you. So our first few meetings has been based on retention and morale. And one of them is creating a modern HR division to meet the needs of the 21st century policing using updated models and strategies. This would be a separate from our current personnel service unit. Basically, we believe that during this strategy session that the chief is putting together now, the strategic plan, this would be a great time to look at the organizational chart, see if there could be an HR division implemented, and what could go underneath that to create a more efficient workflow, such as maybe BPS being underneath that division. That was our first idea that we kind of talked about and wanted to present to you. The next one was explore retirement options such as the DRAP program and 20-year and out program. These programs could be formulated to be cost neutral at no extra expense to the St. Louis County pension system. These options would boost morale. We believe they would be a great retention, having a 20 out like the city. Even talking to city officers about coming over now to the county police department, they'll tell you, oh, I'm at 14 years. I got to do 6 more years before I can have a different option. Also, the younger generations aren't willing to put in 30, 35 years at one certain profession anymore. They like more options. And being a police department that gives them these options, that might bring up morale. One of the options one of the things that we talked about was a training program, but since that's already being implemented, we're going to look at that and just see if we need to tweak it at all to meet the needs of the department. And finally, create a separate retirement and salary package for lieutenant and above to incentivize the promotional process in retirement. The salary package would help to create a more competitive list for future leaders. The retirement package would allow for a constant stream of new ideas through promotions. Example, a reduced rate of health insurance upon retirement.
This would help to develop a better workforce, set clear paths for mobility, and improve employee satisfaction. So those are some of the things that we discussed. We think those would help morale and retention. And if the board wants us to look into it further, we'd be more than happy to do that.
Go back to your first point. What was your first point?
The HR. So we believe,
I know what it was, yeah.
okay.
You said putting, for example, putting BPS under that. How would that help streamline the process?
You know, usually HR deals in employees and how they are treated and disciplined under certain matters. Right now, they're in two separate areas. So we think putting one underneath the other would be more efficient and create a steady workflow.
Okay. Thank you.
So you presented 3 options, but said the second one is tabled for right now. Am I understanding that correctly? Three thoughts: HR, retirement, and then training. But then you said we're working through training.
Right. I think there's a new FTI program on Colonel Cox's desk, which they're going to look into and maybe implement that. And so we were going to take a peek at that and see if it needed to be tweaked at all for future.
So the 5 of you have chosen, when you look at these are all people-related issues. They're not technology-driven. They're not location-driven. They're not necessarily capital-driven buildings, whatever. Why did you focus on morale, retention?
Man, we just think that's a major issue with the department at this point on retaining people. There's a lot of outside influences that go into retention. Some of those things we can't control, but we can control the retention within the department and making it a better work environment. And, some of the thought was maybe standardizing the BPS underneath HR, because then it looks like it's more fair.
And you have 4 that you've presented. Were there more that you developed, or
There were several more. Michelle Ryan was kind of leading this group, and she wanted to focus on these 4 for now and then move on after we presented these to the board.
And how do these fit into our longer-term strategic plan?
Very similar to the conversation about the other working group, which doesn't really have a technical working name. So I don't know if you heard me talking to Captain Law this morning about getting the results of that group together so that we can marry everything up. So obviously some opportunities here. I've known about this for about a month, and it would transition very well into the strategic plan under probably key activity areas, but also some specific individual action items, which will let us track progress and do specific targeted type things to help mitigate some of the things and concerns that he talked about. And Commissioner Schwerin, I didn't come up here and talk about it, but when HR Director Becker was up here talking about morale, and you were kind of asking questions relative to the exit surveys. When we surveyed our internal, both professional and commissioned employees about the department relative to the strategic plan, we got a whole host of returns and a bunch of information, and this will hopefully answer your question, Commissioner Ashworth, that while necessarily may not go directly into the strategic plan, was useful information for us as executive leadership. So Marissa Williams took those results and created a 12-page document, give or take, with all of the comments, and gave those to the chief, gave them to me, and we directed them all out to executive staff. The chief has directed us to kind of work through those, become familiar with them, and then come back and we're going to discuss them in executive staff to address those issues as well. So the whole thing kind of works together collectively to address all the overarching problems on the department. But I don't know that one specifically needs to be in a specific place. But to answer your question, yeah, absolutely. There's going to be pieces of this that permeate throughout the entire strategic plan. It just has to.
That's why we asked.
Yeah, I mean, it does.
What's
So-
the other strategy we saw last month or the month before, the work that's on there, all filters in,
Absolutely.
comes
And it's-
together in one plan.
And as everything comes together in this final phase of this planning process, the timing couldn't be better because we have way more information we've ever had to develop this plan. We have more eyes on it. We've got more involvement from everybody on the police department, top to bottom, as the chief said. So ultimately, the final document just relative to the strategic plan, should encompass a lot of this, but don't get hung up if you don't necessarily see it, because it doesn't mean the work's still not going on someplace else. If that makes sense.
The concept makes sense, but if it doesn't show up in the strategic plan as.
I'm not saying that it will. You may not see an initiative that says specifically, just pick one of Jason's statements that he just said, explore retirement options such as the drop program. You won't see that. You might see language relative to enhancing benefits, and then you would see an action item that would then have that in it. But you're not going to necessarily see the individual action items when you see your draft of the plan.
We're comfortable with that.
Yes, it's going to be in the work. What I'm saying is the work's going to be done, but you might not see it translate into a document that you're looking at, because the public facing document doesn't get that deep into the weeds.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the clarity there, because I'm looking at goal 4, maximize workforce potential.
Yes.
There are potential for
As I
ideas right
said,
there
it
that fit right
permeates
in
throughout that
Right.
whole thing.
So the action item might have a checkbox under
Absolutely.
whatever, special operations, but they're effectively delegating it to the council.
And let me tell you why that's important, because in previous strategic plans, you would have the higher level concepts, but you wouldn't have the how down below it.
Mhm.
You wouldn't have the individual action items to drive the success of that. You would just come back after a year and you would evaluate your progress on that plan, and you would write something in there, held to Citizens Police Academy. And that would be your progress, and that would be success for that. Well, that doesn't work very well. So to answer your question, yes, I mean, those individual action items allow you to be able to measure that progress, but more importantly, they give you a roadmap to be able to accomplish the strategic plan. We've never had that before. So, a whole bunch of high-level discussions with a whole bunch of high-level groups working on stuff, and from top to bottom too, bottom up. But just patience is all I would say. We're getting there. It's just a lot of work.
What's pleasing for us is that you have a vision of what it looks like.
Right.
That you are working toward that vision. You're incorporating feedback. Chief mentioned earlier, right? It's historically top down, and now you're doing it not necessarily bottom up, but you're bringing in threefold, from the bottom, from the middle section, and from the top, which is exactly the way one has to happen. And you've got different groups out there doing different things. And that as you orchestrate that, the conductor of the orchestra, right? You're the man standing in the middle of this right now. You have a vision of what you want it to play like, or gaining that vision, and we look forward to seeing it. But stuff like this is critically important, particularly when you have a goal about maximizing workforce potential. Whether all these show up or not, secondary to, you're going to focus on the things that are most important.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Didn't mean to lecture for you, but thank you.
Captain, to
Yes,
the
ma'am.
extent that you presented to the board for our feedback,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna go ahead and speak for myself, and if you all agree with me, jump in. I think these ideas are extremely intriguing, and I would support further exploration as to how they would fit in well at our department.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
We always agree with you. We know better
You
than that.
speak well for us.
I think the biggest job with this strategic plan is, like I said, we got different committees bringing in different ideas, outside influence about our strategic plans and what we're going to do with those. And that's the point, a matter of marrying all of that together so that we don't have a strategic plan book that high, talking about what we need to do within the next 5 years. Obviously, we're trying to bring in things that are going to be measurable, and conversing with all of these groups will hopefully give us that information. That's all I have, sir.
Thank you. I'll close on our end on this one with a smile, because all of you know my background, but it's always going to come down to people, right? That's our job. We are people, we lead people, and our people take care of other people. So no matter what we do, right, until we're all replaced by machines, it's always going to be about the people.
No doubt.
Thank you. Anything else before we transition to the next topic on the agenda? All right, thank you. Next topic is the approval of minutes. We had a meeting on September 7th that we need to approve. We'll need a motion for approval of September 7th, 2022 meetings, please.
I move that we approve the minutes of September 7th, 2022.
Thank you.
Second that motion.
Thank you. Any other questions? Any further discussion? All in favor of approving the September 7th, 2022 meeting notes, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. Any incoming communications and letters? Anything outgoing? Very good. Any old business? No, that's not in reference to me, so thank you. All right, the new business, we have 6 contracts to take a look at. They are generally broken down into 3 for the academy and 3 others that all revolve around a relationship with the FBI, and we will vote them in those groupings, 3 for the academy and then 3 for the relationship that we have with the FBI on different initiatives. If you all are okay with that.
Yes, sir.
All right, the first is, first contract for the CMPA is a professional service agreement with Constance Dykeman. It's a recommendation to approve a new contract with Constance to provide the St. Louis County Municipal and Police Academy, further known as CMPA, with an instructor to teach a program entitled Basic Recruit Nutrition Training for up to 3 sessions between January 1 and December 31, 2023, at a cost not to exceed $750. Our second is a professional service agreement with Michael Fagan. It is to approve a new contract with Michael Fagan to provide the CMPA with an instructor to teach a program entitled Basic Recruit Constitutional Law Training for up to 3 sessions between January 1 and December 31, 2023, at a cost not to exceed $30,375. And the third professional service agreement is with the City of Brentwood. It is to approve a new contract between St. Louis County and the City of Brentwood, which outlines terms, requirements, and costs to cover the services of a Brentwood police officer as an instructor at the CMPA. The contract shall be for a term of 1 year, commencing upon execution at a cost not to exceed $100,635.48.
I move we approve these contracts.
Second.
Thank you. Any further conversation? Any questions on these 3 contracts? All in favor of approving those 3 contracts, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, we have the 3 CMPA contracts approved. The next 3 are with the relationship, as we mentioned, between St. Louis County Police Department and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The first of those 3 is a recommendation to approve an amended MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, between the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the St. Louis County Police Department. The amendment modifies the MOU dated October 5th, 2018, as it pertains to the scope of work and responsibilities for the parties concerning the St. Louis Gangs Safe Streets Task Force and body-worn cameras. This amendment discusses the use of body-worn cameras by the task force members. All terms and conditions set forth in the original MOU shall remain in full force and effect as written. The second is an MOU also with the FBI to approve for an MOU between FBI and the St. Louis County Police Department. The purpose of this MOU is to delineate the responsibilities of the St. Louis Gang Safe Street Task Force personnel, formalize relationships between participating agencies and policy guidance, planning, training, public and media relations, and maximizing interagency cooperation. The FBI and the St. Louis County Police Department remain responsible for all personnel costs for their STF representatives, that is an acronym for Safe Streets Task Force, including salaries, overtime payments, and fringe benefits consistent with their respective agency. The term of this MOU is for the duration of the SSTF operations, contingent upon approval of necessary funding, but it may be terminated at any time upon written mutual consent of the agency involved. The third is a cost reimbursement agreement, also with the FBI. This is to, the FBI receives authority under this this agreement to pay overtime to police officers assigned to the formalized the Violent Gangs Safe Streets Task Force, the VGSSTF, for expenses necessary for the detection, investigation, and prosecution of crimes against the United States. Commencing upon execution of this agreement, the FBI the FBI, subject to availability of required funding, reimburse the CMP St. Louis County Police Department for overtime payments made to officers assigned to and working full-time with VGSSTF related to matters. Thank you for letting me untie my tongue. May we have a motion, please?
Are we going to do one motion for all 3 of them?
Yes, ma'am. One motion for all 3.
For MOU,
That is correct. All with the FBI.
because it's all of the FBI, not
Correct.
because they're different.
No. I just, we can vote on the first 2 if we'd like. If that's a preference, I'm fine doing the first 2 and then coming back and doing the third one.
I don't have any discussion on either of them. either of the three. It was just looking at them, putting the MOUs together for one vote. And
Okay, we'll move for
Fine.
the two
Thank you. Yep.
MOUs.
Let's, may I have a motion to approve the two memorandum of understandings with the FBI?
I move we approve the two memorandum of understandings with the FBI.
May we have a
Second.
Thank you. Any further conversation? Any further questions? All in favor of approval of the two memorandum of understanding with the FBI, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Right. May we have a,
I move we approve the cost reimbursement agreement.
Second.
thank you. Any further conversations on that? All in favor of approving the cost reimbursement agreement, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? We have 6 new agreements all approved, so thank you very much. Lieutenant Shellman.
Members of the board, there are 2 pieces of policy that are in your hands for hopefully your approval. First is General Order 94, Juvenile Detention Procedures. Revisions in this order were initiated by the Police Crime Laboratory in order to accommodate the move to digital images for juveniles. Additional revisions include updates to the fingerprinting process, juvenile photo lineups, and clarification on who must be present when interviewing a juvenile suspect. Aside from the county counselor's office, which obviously always offers great advice to us on these, Mrs. Lisa Campbell and Ms. Heather Burke of the Police Crime Lab and Alex Martinez, who is legal counsel with the family courts, were also consulted on this policy. Any questions regarding General Order 94?
I have 2 very quick ones. One's very, very tactful, and my apologies for asking. Live scan is a new technology that we're using?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, we've been using it for a little bit, but obviously finally rolling it into policy.
And it'll go out to all the precincts. They'll be able to do, based on how it says, it's to be, okay.
Yep, exactly, yes.
Thank you.
I'm sorry?
How does it work?
It's like a fingerprinting, palm printing, keeps,
It's like a scan, it
yes.
scans that.
That's right.
Instead of putting, okay.
Yep.
Okay, got you.
And that's just a comment, which is it's nice to see the difference in care provided to a juvenile. I think that's great.
Sir.
Right. So may we have a motion to approve Departmental General Order 22-04 or 22-094?
I move that we approve the general order 22094 related to juvenile detention procedures.
Maybe a second.
Second.
Any further conversation? Any further questions? All in favor of approving General Order 22094, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thanks, sir.
Thank you, sir. The second piece of policy is the department manual, the deputation manual. Revisions in this include the correction of the word deputization to deputation, an additional appendix regarding federal deputations and other minor updates made at the request of various stakeholders. Now Lieutenant Ed McGee, who was at the time Sergeant Ed McGee of the Patrol Ancillary Services, was consulted throughout this. Lieutenant Jack Webb with Personnel Services as well, as Mr. Ron Goldstein, a criminal investigator with the Prosecuting Attorney's Office, also were a part of this process. Does anybody have any questions regarding the deputation manual?
I learned a new word. I didn't realize. I always was using the word deputization. I did not realize it was a deputation.
Shame on us.
No, it's not you. It's all my life, right?
That's right.
Is it a replacement for deputization?
Sorry?
Is it a replacement for deputization?
So technically
Or
there's no.
Something different.
So the word deputize, we changed to deputization, but really it should be deputation.
The more you know.
So all my life, right? You watch the old Westerns from 1904. They're talking about deputizing,
Yep.
deputization.
All
Way
right.
off track. My apologies. May we have a motion to approve the revised deputization, sorry, the deputation. See, I'm gonna have to work on this. Thank you all for helping me. Deputation manual of the rules and procedures for the St. Louis County Police Department.
I move that we approve the revisions in the deputation manual.
You got it.
Rules and procedures, St. Louis County Police Department.
Thank you. May we have a second?
Second.
Any further conversation or questions regarding the deputation manual? All in favor of approval?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Deputation, we'll have to, you all will have to work with me. Anyone from the public, anything in the public forum?
Left.
They all left, no doubt. All right, the Board of Police Commissioners may vote to go into closed meeting for legal advice and review of claims and lawsuits involving the Police Department, Section 610.0211 RSMO and Sections 114.020.11 SLCRO, and discussion of employee and personnel matters, Sections 610.0213 and 13 RSMO and Sections 114.020.13 and 13 SLCRO. May we have a motion to move to closed session?
I move we go to closed session.
We have a second.
I second that motion.
Thank you. Amy, would you take a roll call vote to move to close, please?
Commissioner Ashworth?
Yes.
Commissioner Banks?
Yes.
Commissioner Hassler?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwerin?
Yes.
We are in closed session. Thank you all for being here. We're live? Great. We are back from closed session. We had one vote in our closed session. That was to return to open session. It was a roll call vote with all four of the commissioners voting in the affirmative. Commissioner Banks did have to leave prior to this. Anything else from anyone?
No.
Nope. Thank you. May we have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn this meeting of the commissioners meeting.
I'll second that motion.
Amy, can you take a roll call vote?
Commissioner Ashworth?
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Schwerin?
Yes.
We are adjourned. See you next, as we do that, November 16th, next meeting.
Yes.
November 16th, we had to move it a week.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We're adjourned.